So recently I've had a few people ask if I could make a video talking in more detail, sort of a step-by-step, how I personally manifest. As in, what is the technique or method, my process, if you will, and how I go about creating something out here in this 3D world that I desire to experience. I'm also going to shed some light on some things that we may be doing unintentionally, unconsciously, that could be impeding on things and potentially even self-sabotaging ourselves. So if you are curious to know the method or technique, for lack of better words, that I use that has brought me results every single time, then definitely stick around to the end of this video because this one is especially for you. But before I go step by step, I really want to make something aware to people, and something that we're doing, perhaps unbeknownst to us, is creating a lot of hardship, a lot of fear, a lot of stress, and ultimately frustration as to why it's not working. So the first important thing that I want to note is that we really want to be mindful of how we are perceiving all of this, these teachings, what we are doing, for lack of better words. Because it's that mentality, this mentality of doing something, of needing to do something to get it appearing on the outside, that keeps us stuck. Basically, too often the biggest mistake that we're making is focusing and fretting too much on the 3D outcome. Specifically, fearing and being very apprehensive about what if it doesn't work, what if I waste my time, what if nothing happens. That desire feels so big and so daunting that before we know it, we're overcomplicating all of this. When we fixate too much on trying to change the 3D, oftentimes we are getting ourselves psyched out and not even allowing ourselves to fully immerse in the experience of having it in imagination. We deny ourselves the feeling of satisfaction and the feeling of success necessary to produce the outcome that we want. So we turn to YouTube for comfort. We turn to Reddit posts for inspiration. We go looking for reassurance instead of actually imagining and putting ourselves in that state of the wish fulfilled. So my personal process in manifesting the things that I want is as follows. Number one, I make sure that I am in as relaxed of a state as possible. And this is a point that I try to emphasize often, because for the majority of people, we are very tense and very stressed, so much so that it's going to feel very difficult to actually allow yourself to feel into the state we want to be feeling in. For example, it is going to feel incredibly challenging to notice the thrill of victory or that sense of satisfaction or that relief if we are way too bundled up and anxious, if we're fretting and if we are fearful. So if I am feeling tense, if I am having a stressful day, I will first be mindful of that and just take some breaths and do what I can to take the temperature down, so to speak. I want to feel as much into a state of ease. This should very much feel like it's flowing, like there's nothing restricting you. This should not feel tense. Now, perhaps there are people out there that can manifest things when they are anxious as hell, but too often it's probably going to be things that we don't want. It's going to feel very difficult to imagine a desirable state when we are feeling very much the opposite. Which is also why I recommend a daily meditation practice or a daily practice that involves something that will naturally help you feel better. This could be listening to some of your favorite music. This could be going for a walk out in nature or taking a nice long drive. Whatever that looks like for you, whatever will help you to get more into a feel-good state is the first thing that we want to keep in mind before we try to go to the end, ideally. Once I am nice and relaxed, or at the very least, feeling more in a neutral state and I'm not tense, then I'll just allow myself to entertain the idea of having the thing that I want. Basically, this is the imagination part. This is imagining already having or already being what it is you want to experience. And this is where we can get the creative juices of imagination flowing. This is where we utilize our creative power. Your imagination is there to serve you. And through imagining that you are now experiencing what you desire to experience in the 3D, that is how you will elicit the feeling of success, the feeling of satisfaction, the feeling of adored, whatever it is that you want to feel and experience. This is where I just allow myself to play. Just like when we were children and we would imagine things for the sake of enjoyment, for the sake of how satisfying it felt, it is no less different than that kind of mindset. And I'll play with the idea of it until I reach that feeling of satisfaction, and I will feel it in my body. It will feel like a warm sensation spreading throughout my chest, or it'll feel like a tingling sensation throughout my body. That feeling of, oh, okay, everything worked out exactly as planned. And again, we want to make sure that we are not trying to overcomplicate this or force the feeling. One of the biggest forms of resistance comes to us when we are trying to force that feeling. If you allow yourself to just imagine and entertain purely for the sake of what it would feel like and what it would be like, and to allow yourself to enjoy the experience in your imagination, that feeling will come to you naturally and effortlessly. A weight will come off your shoulders. You will actually physically feel lighter, but we have to make sure that this is organic and that we're not forcing it. And once I reach that feeling, once that has been elicited and I can feel it in my body, and I've reached that state of, yes, this is awesome. I knew this was going to happen. I absolutely knew it. God, I am eternally grateful for this. Once that feeling is reached, step 3, I drop it and I go about my day. I don't mull over it. I don't second guess it. I don't question it. I just go about my day as I normally would. I have zero need to try to repeat that over and over again, because at that point, I know it is already done. Once felt, once we have elicited that reaction, that response, the seed has been planted. And just like a seed planted in fertile soil must bear fruit, this seed or impression dropped subconsciously must come to pass and be expressed in this physical 3D world, because that quite literally is the law. This is ultimately the detachment aspect that we hear so much about. I don't look for evidence that it's not working or get frustrated because I'm not seeing it. It might take a day, it might take a week, it might take a month. Consciously, I have no idea. And that is okay, because ultimately it's not my job to know. It is not the ego's job to know and understand the ways in which things will come to pass. That is entirely up to God. That is entirely up to the higher self, the I am, awareness, the universe, whatever you want to call it. But that is the surrendering, that is the accepting. That once imagined and once felt, once I reach that state where I know it to be true and I know it is done because I have experienced it and I have accepted it, I know that it must come to pass. That is really it. I will reach for that feeling of success, that feeling of it worked. I knew it was inevitable. I knew this was going to happen. And once felt, I let it all go. And without fail, it will outpicture, because, once again, that is the law. And it is a universal law. It works for everything, whether we are consciously doing it or not. Now, I can already hear some people saying, well, wait a minute, Missy. What do you mean? Don't you do SATs? Don't you do any of the techniques that you teach on this channel? And the short answer is, yeah, sometimes, if I feel like it. But truth be told, I used to do way more SATs when I still had a lot of resistance to the things that I was aiming for, the things that felt too big or too difficult. Because what I found is that in that drowsier state, in that state akin to sleep, I was better able to capture that feeling of already having, which is the entire name of the game here. But as my conviction and faith has grown over the years, a lot of times I'll really just allow myself a moment and imagine it done, and it is done. And there's not much more to it than that. That being said, the techniques are tools for us to use if we are having difficulties, if we are noticing a lot of resistance or inability to maintain that desired state. If we're having a lot of double-mindedness, things of that nature, then absolutely we can use the assistance of the state akin to sleep or other techniques of choice. It's really just learning to experiment and play with different ways of using your imagination to help elicit that feeling of realness and that response of having the thing that once was a desire. And this can be used for anything. The most important thing is about being now the person you want to be. Not that we're aiming to get it in the future. We are not future forward thinking here. We are utilizing this moment in the now, in the present, which is the only moment there is and the only moment that exists. If I am now feeling into the experience of what I want, if I am now accepting that I am the person who has this thing or is this kind of person, if I am accepting that in this moment, then that has to be what I experience. Now, granted, I know that that may sound way too simple, and it is going to feel difficult for some people to believe that that is all that it takes and it's all that is necessary in order to see your desires come to fruition. But those are the only ingredients that are needed to create a whole new world. As Neville said, though, our refusal to believe that is the reason that we do not have it and we do not see it. Far too often, we get stuck in the trap of thinking that it can't be that simple. There's no way it could be that simple. It's got to be more to it. There's got to be more that I have to be doing in order to get it. That mentality must be dropped if we are to have success with consciously manifesting what we want. The law of assumption is about being. It is about having in the present tense. It is not about trying to get something. It is not about trying to manifest. And that is the point that I'm going to continue to drive home in every single video if I have to. All we must do is ask ourselves, what would it feel like right now in this moment if you had what you desire to have? And genuinely allow yourself to go there. Actually allow yourself to entertain the idea of it, the sensations of it. Allow yourself to have the experience in your imagination. Your imagination is free reign. There is nothing off limits. There is no barriers, no obstacles, nothing that can tell you no, except you. That's it. Hey, what's up, you guys? Missy from the future here. And I just wanted to come with a helpful tip or something else that could be of use to you if you are having difficulty in imagining or inducing the feeling, so to speak. For a lot of people, For a lot of people that I've worked with, they've talked about difficulties with capturing that feeling, that essence of already having what you want. And this could be for a myriad of reasons. Perhaps you have never experienced in the 3D the thing that you desire. So we may not even know where to begin with it. So if this is the case for you, then another helpful tip could be to imagine something along the lines of how you would want to feel. Basically, start with a memory of a time where you felt absolutely incredible. Perhaps this could be a total win that you had, a time where something worked out when you thought that maybe it wouldn't, something that caused the feeling of relief and brought about a wave of satisfaction. Recall a time where you felt absolutely amazing and really let yourself stew on this, really let yourself ruminate on this feeling until that response is initiated, until you feel that sensation in your body. Now, with that good feeling behind you, switch your attention to your desire and what that looks like. So to use an example to put this all together, perhaps you desire a promotion at work. But maybe you are nervous because you have never gotten a promotion at this job. Maybe you don't feel you're qualified enough. In this circumstance, I would first allow myself to remember something that felt like I had achieved something. This could be if you won an award at school, a time where you received praise from a professor or a teacher or a boss or a coworker. Just any other time that filled you with that sense of pride and satisfaction and the feeling of success. Mull over this memory until it feels so charged and so good. And then, in that feel-good state, allow yourself to switch your attention to the desired outcome that you want. This is also referred to some in this community as copy-pasting the feeling. I'm not sure where exactly this stemmed from. I did not come up with this idea, but it's one that I have used before in the past with great success. So give it a try, see how it feels, and if you are having difficulty in capturing that feeling of the wish fulfilled, allow yourself to ruminate on a time in your past that felt incredible and felt similar to how we would feel in this end state. Ultimately, at the end of the day, just remember, feeling is truly the secret, and you've got this. Much love, guys. We really want to be mindful of what we are assuming and what we are allowing and entertaining throughout the day-to-day. Are we feeling fearful of going to the end, out of worry that it's not going to happen and the disappointment that will follow? This is a very common trap, and it's very subtle and very sneaky. And so instead of going to the end, we spend our days looking for reassurances and looking for comforts instead of actually giving yourself what you desire in imagination. And I understand that without the faith and conviction, it is naturally going to feel way too good to be true. It is going to feel like this is way too simple. There's got to be more to this. Is this even real? Is this actually going to happen? I have been there personally, as everyone else has. But we want to be mindful of these very sneaky and very subtle ways that we could be unintentionally sabotaging all of this. All that must be done is allow yourself to feel it, allow yourself to be it in here, and then drop it. Allow it to come to pass, allow it to unfold. And granted, I understand that not everybody has the level of conviction that I myself have. We may be doubting and wavering a lot, and that is normal. And if you find that to be the case for you, then we just want to repeat the process and continue to go back to that feeling until it feels more natural to you, until you're naturally going throughout your day, not even thinking about this thing, not obsessing about it, not wondering if you did it right or did it wrong. At a certain point, you're no longer going to need to justify it. You're no longer going to need to second guess yourself, because if you are actually allowing yourself to feel that end state, inevitably you will reach the Sabbath. You will reach that place of knowing and of assurance, and you will then be able to drop it and go about your merry way. And once you know that it is done for you, once you have felt that certainty, once you have elicited that response, that feeling of success, that thrill of victory, once that seed has been planted, you then give it to the source, give it to the higher self. Know that there is no way we're going to know consciously how it's going to come about. And we do not need to fret. We do not need to look for it. We do not need to aid it in any way. It is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. And what that means is that it is truly your higher self's great pleasure to give you what you want. But first, you must claim it. You must be it in here. And once you do this, once you allow yourself to naturally go to that thrill of success, once you see in your mind's eye that you are now in that reality, you're in that state, you're enjoying it, you're feeling the satisfaction of it, and then you let go and trust that everything must unfold naturally for you, that is how every single time you will manifest anything you want. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I hope this made a few things a little bit clearer. I hope you enjoyed my personal process. If you did enjoy it, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you have any questions about anything that I went over in this video, drop me a comment down below. I would love to hear from you. Also, don't forget to check out some of the resources that I have, including my coaching programs, my workshops, my blog, my podcast, my social channels. Got a ton of resources down in the description box, so don't forget to check that out. Also, be sure to check out the other videos on this channel. Be sure to check out my Manifestation Fundamentals playlist. Each video is a different topic, but it all talks about how to manifest the best life ever. So until we meet next time, you guys, as always, please take care, be well, and never forget how powerful you truly are. Happy manifesting, guys.